They thought the list would stay buried. 17 names. 17 roles. 17 shadows moving behind the fall of menlong like puppeteers cloaked in silence. For weeks, the 17-person list was nothing more than a myth whispered through encrypted files and late-night leaks. A rumor investigators were warned not to touch. A directory of ghosts untouchable, untraceable, untamed. But now the unthinkable has happened. The real mastermind behind that list, the architect of the night, the weaver of shadows, the one whose presence stitched meaning into every lie, has surfaced. And their emergence hasn't just cracked open the case. It has exploded it. Because this mastermind didn't hide behind the 17 names. They created them. Controlled them. Orchestrated each step like a conductor guiding an orchestra no one knew existed. And the moment their identity flickered into the light, every past revelation began to rhyme with a new, terrifying truth. This is not the story officials prepared for the world. This is the story they feared. It begins with a folder. A simple, black, unmarked folder discovered inside a sealed box confiscated during a routine sweep of a seemingly abandoned apartment. Investigators almost missed it, dustcoat, tucked behind a broken shelf, placed with such eerie precision that anyone less persistent would have dismissed it as garbage. But inside the folder, carefully arranged and sealed with a metallic clasp, lived the infamous 17-person list. Except this time, it wasn't fragmented. It wasn't blurred. It wasn't missing pieces. It was whole. And on the back page, hidden beneath a layer of faded carbon, was a name. A name that shouldn't exist. A name that wasn't in any report. A name officials fought tooth and nail to keep off every document. The list had a creator. And that creator had fingerprints. The mastermind wasn't a rumor anymore, they were a revelation. The investigator handling the file described the moment the name appeared as the kind of silence that screams. The air tightened. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed to lean inward, listening, watching, waiting. Because the name didn't just stand out. It glowed. It pulsed. It resonated through every thread of the case like a missing beat returning to the heart of a song. And the deeper investigators analyzed the list, the more they realized each of the 17 names didn't act alone, they operated in patterns, in arranged sequences, in orchestrated timings only someone with immense power and staggering precision could manage. Someone who understood how to bend people. Someone who understood how to erase noise. Someone who understood how to turn lives into chess pieces. The mastermind had arranged the night of Menlong's death like a stage play. Each of the 17 was a role. Each role had a cue. Each cue had a purpose. And one chilling detail became clear. Everything that happened that night. The blackout. The shadows' movement. The batons' glint. The missing frames. The altered reports. The silenced witness. All flowed from the same river. A river fed by one source. One mind. One architect. And now that mind had a name. But the real shock didn't come from the identity alone. It came from the footage tied to that name. A second video, longer, uncut, never shown publicly, surfaced inside a locked drive found beneath the same apartment floorboards. Its encryption took hours to break. The screen flickered. Static spread across the edges like frost. And then, slowly, the video revealed the inside of a dim, concrete room illuminated by a single hanging bulb. At the center stood a figure. Face shadowed. Posture sharp. Presence suffocating. On the table beside them lay a stack of files bearing the same emblem found on the 17-person list. The figure touched each file deliberately, like a ritual. One finger on each name. One breath after each touch. And then, in a voice so calm it felt unnatural, they said, 17 threads. One weave. The room seemed to pulse. The camera zoomed closer on its own. And then the figure added, everything must align. The final phrase became the key to the entire case. Because the more experts replayed the line, the more they recognized its rhythm, the same rhythm encoded in the movement of the shadow behind Menlong, in the timing of the blackout, in the pattern of the sound spike, in the missing autopsy bruise. The mastermind's words were not poetic. They were literal. A mission command. A blueprint in disguise. Everything must align. And it had. Until now. Investigators pieced together the 17 roles, each more chilling than the last. One monitored streetlight cycles. One mapped camera blind spots. One supervised audio suppression. One falsified documents. One controlled access to the body. One tampered with the autopsy file. One managed the witness intimidation. One handled the reroute of power. One erased footage. One edited the official reports. One spread the accident narrative. One shadowed Menlong for 3 days. One prepared the strike. One ensured the street was empty. One tracked police routes. One triggered the blackout. And one struck the blow. 17 roles. 17 steps. But they all bowed to one conductor. The mastermind didn't perform the crime. They engineered the environment around it. The real horror came when analysts realized the turmoil that erupted afterward. The cover-ups, the contradictions, the lies were not the system failing. They were the system functioning exactly as the mastermind designed. Every denial, planned. Every missing detail, strategic. Every silenced voice, calculated. The mastermind wrote the script. The officials performed it. And now that the name has surfaced, everything makes sense. The 17 were not accomplices. They were instruments. And the crime wasn't the fall of Yu Menlong. The crime was the erasure of the truth. The mastermind wanted Menlong forgotten, an echo swallowed by silence, a name erased from the earth. But instead, the opposite happened. The list woke the world. The evidence screamed. The shadows pointed. The truth clawed its way out. And now the mastermind stands exposed, their influence crumbling under the weight of the story they tried to suffocate. Because Menlong's name didn't die. It multiplied. It spread. It grew heavier, louder, more immortal than any of them predicted. And with every new revelation, the rhythm repeats. 17 threads. One weave. One architect. But the weave has torn open. The threads have unraveled. The architect has fallen out of the shadows and into the burning light. Now, the world doesn't just know the truth. It feels it. And the mastermind, once untouchable, now stands as the final crack in the empire built on silence. The 17-person list wasn't a myth. It was a map. A warning. A prophecy. And now that the true puppeteer has surfaced, the story has only one ending. The truth is awake. The shadows are trembling. And Yu Menlong's name, the name they tried to bury, has become the thunder that will bring their world down. The storm that began with the 17-person list had barely settled when the first shadow peeled away from the darkness. It didn't speak. It didn't rush. It moved with the certainty of someone who had been waiting patiently, calculating, just behind the curtain while chaos unfolded center stage. 4 days, Whisper networks online had speculated about names, positions, motives, all of them tangled in rumor, none of them leading anywhere solid. But now, in the undercurrent of the investigation, a new presence stirred, and the energy around the case shifted. It began with a door that creaked open at an abandoned tea house on the outskirts of the city. The place had long gone quiet, tables coated in dust, lanterns faded, windows boarded like an old secret no one dared to revisit. Yet inside, a single bulb flickered to life, casting long shadows across carved wooden walls. A figure stepped forward, gloved hands placing a thick envelope on the table. No words. Just a quiet exhale, the kind that sounded like release or surrender. Inside the envelope lay a stack of photographs, timestamps crisp, angles too perfect to be casual. Images of meetings that weren't supposed to exist. Images tying together people from the 17-person list whose connections had previously been dismissed as coincidence. But the most important thing wasn't in the photos, it was written on a single torn slip of brown paper tucked at the bottom. The one you fear isn't on the list. Those 7 words detonated through the case like a hidden bomb finally wired to its trigger. Meanwhile, far from the tea house, in a cramped newsroom apartment lit only by the glow of 3 overworked monitors, Chen Yushi, one of the few journalists who refused to drop the case, leaned closer to the screen. She enlarged the image someone had anonymously sent her. It showed a blurred silhouette in the corner of a meeting the authorities had sworn never took place. She zoomed. Enhanced. Zoomed again. The silhouette sharpened into a profile she had seen before, fleetingly, in the background of videos, reflected in car windows, captured in security footage never meant to be reviewed frame by frame. A presence that always appeared when pressure in the case peaked, then vanished when eyes shifted. This wasn't one of the 17. This was the ghost behind them. Her pulse hammered. She leaned back, breathing shallow, as if afraid the figure in the photo could somehow sense her stare and turn its head her way. The room's silence grew heavier. Outside, thunder rolled across the midnight sky, as if the city itself were reacting to what she now knew. She sent the picture to her private hard drive, encrypting it twice. Then, as a precaution, she unplugged her laptop, checked the corridors, locked her door, and left the lights off. Her hands trembled not just with fear, but with the dawning understanding that everything until now had been surface level, a stage performance meant to distract from the true puppeteer. And somewhere, not far from that room, the mastermind, unaware of the leak but always alert, felt the shift in the air. Instinct. A predator's second sense. The kind that grows when someone has lived too long in shadows built from other people's fear. He paused his writing, fingers hovering over documents coded with layers of secrecy. Something had gone wrong. He couldn't name it yet, but he felt it, like a hairline fracture forming beneath a glacier. Back in the city center, seconds before dawn split open the horizon, a streetlight flickered near the alley where the tea house messenger returned. A black sedan pulled up, window lowering slowly, revealing only a pair of eyes, cold, unreadable, the kind that memorized everything and revealed nothing. The messenger swallowed hard, sensing danger but unable to retreat. The window lowered further. "Did you deliver it?" The messenger nodded quickly. The hand gripping the steering wheel tightened. "Good," the driver said. "Now forget you were ever here." The sedan rolled away, leaving behind silence thick as smoke. The messenger exhaled shakily, unaware that a tiny camera embedded in the sedan's side mirror had recorded the entire exchange. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, slipped past the mind orchestrating this grand spectacle of misdirection. By midday, whispers of a 19th name began circulating in private forums. Anonymous posts hinted that the 17-person list had always been a decoy, an intentionally overcomplicated net designed to tangle investigators in endless knots. People thought they had uncovered the deepest layer, but it was only the opening page of a much darker story. And beneath that story lay the truth of menlong, why he was targeted, why evidence clashed, why witnesses folded under pressure, why the narrative twisted every time someone got too close. The mastermind had orchestrated it with surgical precision. But what he hadn't anticipated was betrayal from within his own circle. The envelope at the tea house. The photo sent to Yushi. The shift he felt hours later. Someone close to him had grown a conscience or a fear larger than loyalty. And for the first time since the case ignited, the mastermind realized something he'd never expected. His perfect web had a tear. A tiny one. But enough to unravel everything if pulled by the right hands. And the hands pulling now were determined, angry, and no longer afraid.